Country and Equestrian ASMR. Hi guys, and welcome to Country and Equestrian ASMR. So today we're going to be talking about Black Beauty by Anna Sewell. So I bought this book from a local bookstore. This in particular is an absolutely gorgeous edition. So at the front it has Black Beauty at the bottom and this lovely gold foiled lettering. It then has some horseshoes on the side, and then on the back it has a saddle with some gold foiled stirrup leathers and stirrups, and it says, "It is good people who make good places." So first of all, we're going to talk a bit about Anna Sewell. So she was born on March the 30th, 1820. She was British and she only has one published book, and that is this book, Black Beauty. She was born in Great Yarmouth in Norfolk into a Quaker family. Anna's mum, Anna Wright Sewell, who actually outlived her daughter by a few years, was herself an author of poetry and children's books, and her dad was a shopkeeper and bank clerk. Anna and her brother Philip were mainly educated at home by their mother. The family had a precarious financial situation, which compelled the children to stay with their grandparents from time to time, and they often moved around the country. When Anna was 12, she went to school for the first time after her family moved to Stoke Newington. 2 years later, she fell while walking home from school and broke both her ankles. The treatment was shoddy and she never fully recovered. For the rest of her life, she was unable to stand or walk for very long and endured a great deal of pain. Her mother Mary wrote a series of children's books with evangelical themes, and Anna helped edit them. She worked with her mother on other social issues, including abolition and temperance. Anna's mother had long been a guiding force in her life. When she had become dependent on horse-drawn carriages to get around, Anna developed an empathy for horses. She grew to love them and cared deeply around their treatment, as well as that of all animals. The inhumane treatment of horses, she observed, inspired her to write Black Beauty. She worked on it between the years of 1871 and 1877, already in her 50s. By then, she was in such poor health that she was hardly able to leave her bed. She had such difficulty writing that she was compelled to dictate it to her mother. Anna hadn't intended Black Beauty as a children's book. Rather, she wrote it for those who owned or worked with horses, to induce kindness, sympathy, and an understanding treatment. The story especially denounced the use of the bearing rein and was warmly recommended by the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, the RSPCA. Going beyond its original purpose, the book also conveyed practical insight into humane training practices for colts, stable management, and animal husbandry. A unique feature of the story is that it's told from a horse's perspective. It was originally subtitled The Autobiography of a Horse. Black Beauty is now considered a children's classic, and as such, it has long remained one of the top 10 best-selling children's books of all time. Millions of copies have been sold, and it has been translated into a multitude of languages. In the last year of her life, she was completely bedridden and often in extreme pain. Anna Sewell died 5 months after the publication of Black Beauty. She was able at least to see the warm reception of her only book in the first few months after publication in England. You may have seen the 1994 Black Beauty film. which was directed by Caroline Thompson, or you may have seen the 2020 remake of this. Either way, Black Beauty is a fantastic story which really incites empathy and sympathy for animals, particularly horses. So, I will now get on with starting to read the book with chapter 1 first. Chapter 1 of Black Beauty. My early home. The first place that I can well remember was a large pleasant meadow with a pond of clear water in it. Some trees overshadowed the pond, and rushes and water lilies grew at the deep end. Over the hedge on one side we looked into a ploughed field, and on the other we looked over a gate at our master's house, which stood by the roadside. At the top of the meadow was a plantation of fir trees, and at the bottom a running brook overhung by a steep bank. Whilst I was young, I lived upon my mother's milk, as I could not eat grass. In the daytime I ran by her side, and at night I lay down close by her. When it was hot, we used to stand by the pond in the shade of the trees, and when it was cold, we had a nice warm shed near the plantation. As soon as I was old enough to eat grass, my mother used to go out to work in the daytime and to come back in the evening. There were 6 young colts in the meadow besides me. They were older than I was. Some were nearly as large as grown-up horses. I used to run with them and have great fun. We used to gallop all together round and round the field as hard as we could go. Sometimes we had rather rough play, for they would frequently bite and kick as well as gallop. One day, when there was a good deal of kicking, my mother whinnied to me to come to her, and then she said, "I wish you to pay attention to what I am going to say to you. The colts who live here are very good colts, but they are cart horse colts, and of course they have not learned good manners. You have been well bred and well born. Your father has a great name in these parts, and your grandfather twice won the cup at the Newmarket races. Your grandmother had the sweetest temper of any horse I ever knew, and I think you have never seen me kick or bite. I hope you will grow up gentle and good, and never learn bad ways. Do your work with a good will, lift up your feet well when you trot, and never bite or kick, even in play." I have never forgotten my mother's advice. I knew she was a wise old horse, and our master thought a great deal of her. Her name was Duchess, but he often called her Pet. Our master was a good, kind man. He gave us good food, good lodging, and kind words, and he spoke as kindly to us as he did to his little children. We were all fond of him, and my mother loved him very much. When she saw him at the gate, she would neigh with joy and trot up to him. He would pat and stroke her and say, "Well done, old pet. How is your little darky?" I was a dull black, so he called me Darky. Then he would give me a piece of bread, which was very good, and sometimes he brought a carrot for my mother. All the horses would come to him, but I think we were his favourites. My mother always took him to the town on a market day in a light gig. There was a ploughboy, Dick, who sometimes came into our field to pluck blackberries from the hedge. When he had eaten all he wanted, he would have what he called fun with the colts, throwing sticks and stones at them to make them gallop. We did not much mind him, for we could gallop off, but sometimes a stone would hit and hurt us. One day he was at this game and did not know that the master was in the next field, but he was there, watching what was going on. Over the hedge he jumped in a moment, and catching Dick by the arm, gave him such a box on the ear as made him roar with pain. As soon as we saw the master, we trotted up nearer to see what was going on. "Bad boy," he said, "bad boy to chase the colts. This is not the first time, nor the second, but it shall be the last. There, take your money and go home. I shall not want you on my farm again." So we never saw Dick again. Old Daniel, the man who looked after the horses, was just as gentle as our master, so we were well off. And that's the end of chapter 1 of Black Beauty.